So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our State of the Vision presentation. This is a unique thing that we do here at InVision. We started it a number of years ago, and as you know, our name has changed over the years, but the part of the name that hasn't changed is the part that references our vision. And so State of the Vision is really also a reference to our vision. Welcome. I want to start off by saying happy anniversary. As you've been hearing all year, it was 1992, which is now 25 years ago, that Sharp Visions, now known as InVision Human Services, of course, was incorporated. Back then, I was working out of my living room. It was very interesting. Partly on the floor, papers everywhere. At that time, we started partnering with ChemCrest Services out in the eastern part of Pennsylvania. Some of you that hail from the east know exactly where I'm talking about. And we began serving Gary in our newly licensed family living program. Family living is now also called life sharing or shared living. But at the time, we pioneered bringing people from more institutional placements into family living settings. As many of you know, we began by serving Gary, and Gary's still with us today, I'm happy to say. He was one of 3 residents at ChemCrest's Rivercrest Center, which was closing. It was a voluntary closure of Rivercrest Center, an intermediate care facility. And the 3 folks that we took on as our first 3 admissions, or intended to be our first 3 admissions, all came from Rivercrest, but had originated from the western part of the state and wanted to return to their home communities. So Gary was one of them, and the one who's still with us. The other 2 have since been deceased, and we feel great loss for the fact that they got older and like so many people with disabilities often don't live as long as the rest of us. Not long after we started supporting Gary, we hired Johnny Lawson, who I wish was here today because I have great joy every time I see Johnny. She is, other than me, the longest serving employee who's still working with us today. And I think Johnny actually still remembers that living room office. She's been around that long. Gary is the person on the right in this photo, and some of you may recognize him. He's there with his direct support professional at the time, Fayez, and Fayez is still with me. He might look a little grayer than Gary, as do I. Now InVision supports more than 450 people. We employ close to 800 staff members, and we provide financial support thanks to many of you and many other members of our staff, and the donations that you make through your payroll deductions for organizations in South Africa. So we've come a long, long way since 1992, and we have a big, wide open road right in front of us that we're headed down. You know, when I think about the hundreds and thousands of lives that have been touched, not only by InVisions for companies, but also by the industry that we represent, I am really proud of what's been happening over the past 25 years and more, because our community system is really about 40 years old now. I'm really proud to be part of that system of providing community-based services for people with intellectual disabilities and autism, and for folks who have other complicated needs and who require other kinds of support as well. When I think about you all of our wonderful staff, not just you in the room, but the rest of our staff as well, and I think about the energy, the passion, the skill, and the integrity that bring you to this table, that's what makes me really humbled. It's truly, truly impressive. So for this year's State of the Vision presentation, I want to acknowledge that this is our 25th anniversary year, and that's just one of the many milestones that InVision has passed in this quarter century. These are some of the other milestones. This year we rolled out our 25th anniversary logo at the board's annual meeting in the spring, and we've celebrated that anniversary all year. Most recently, we celebrated with hundreds of people at our first annual InVision Fall Festival, and if you missed it, I'm sorry to hear that, because you missed out on a fantastic event. Never fear, there's another year, another one next year, and I hope you won't miss that one if you missed this one. And if you came last year, I hope that you share your impressions so that we can make it an even better event next year. The first 10 years of the company's existence were filled with lots of significant events, some small, some really big. These moments and events were the first signposts along our journey. Our first board meeting was held in May of 1993, and just one member of that original board remains involved with our organization. That's John Fabb, and I don't have a photo of him up here, but he is, there's a photo of him out on the posters that also commemorate the nominees for the John Fabb Rookie of the Year Award. And that is named for, oh, and it's on your Milestones page as well, with one of our other long-term board members, Steve Roberts. John is a person who has a very significant disability himself, and he reminds all of us every day when we meet with board members exactly why we do this work. And he's got a very powerful voice and a powerful role in our board of directors. 2 years after 1993 came the Employment Supports Program. Many of you don't know that our Employment Supports Program dates back almost to the beginning of the organization. And also in that year, our first line of credit was established. That's a pretty monumental event for an organization, especially because there were a lot of days before that when if we didn't make payroll, we had to sit down and go, okay, cut everybody's paycheck but mine to make sure that we get everybody paid. So 1998 came around, and Kim Love came to Sharp Visions 19 years ago, and counting. Not long after we started services, we graduated from my living room, thank goodness, to a tiny little office space right across the road. And if you've never been down Green Garden Road in Raccoon Township of Beaver County, you should take a drive down there one day and check out what used to be our Green Garden Road office. It is a little tiny house. It's actually set up as a duplex with a top and bottom floor. And we eventually used the bottom floor for Michael, who came on board somewhere in that time frame, late 1995, and who is also still with us today, lives out in Beaver County. Then in 1995, we moved to our first real office on Forbes Avenue, and we stayed there. If there's the Green Garden Road house. So from the Forbes Avenue office, of course, we moved in 2010. 12. I knew that note was wrong. 2012 to this, and I did it myself, and no one else to blame, to this lovely corporate office building here in Wexford that we're all enjoying and appreciating today, especially now that we have the second floor done. And then in the east, our first official office there was about 2006 near Philadelphia. Then it moved to Valley Forge, then to Harrisburg, then to Leesport, and of course now in the building in Reading that we actually own, and where we'll be staying for a while yet, we hope. Those guys have moved a lot during the time when we sat at Forbes Avenue. And, you know, at Forbes Avenue we did a lot of moving around and shuffling into this floor and that floor and adding space, but it's not quite the same as moving as far as Harrisburg and then back out to Reading. So these progression milestones that we've experienced, they've really shaped who InVision has been, and they also will shape the next 25 years and even beyond that. From the day we rented that tiny office on Green Garden Road to today, 2017, as we listened almost every day to the construction in the corporate office building while we got the second floor finished. From 1997, when we became founding members of the Provider Alliance, where I sat at a board meeting this week and recognized that we have 64 provider members and another 20 associate members to the Provider Alliance today. When we became a founding member of the Network for Quality Services in Pennsylvania in 2002, that organization was founded in an attempt to sue the state of Pennsylvania for higher DSP wages. Sound familiar? We've been at that a long, long time. And then in 2011, when we co-founded William Penn Human Services, which is also an ongoing organization. InVision has been leading the way in advocating for and improving human services and the human service industry in Pennsylvania as we have grown and adapted and taken on even more leadership roles. Many of you have taken on those leadership roles as well. We've been part of a very robust human service industry. That industry remembers the horrors of institutions like Pennhurst and Western Center. And if you haven't been across the hall to see the Pennhurst Memorial, Traveling Memorial, please do so. Today is the last day it'll be here. And we asked for it to come here specifically to coincide with this event so that many of you who have never experienced what it's like to go through a state institution or to understand what the horrible conditions of an institution are like. I hope you'll go through so you get at least a little bit of a flavor. And if that isn't enough for you, come and talk to me. Because I have a lot of experiences with institutions that I could share with you. That Pennhurst Memorial is a reminder of something that we must never again see in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. We're part of an industry that has celebrated every time an institution closes and was replaced by a community-based program. I'm really proud that our programs have been the first and still today are the most recognized community-based programs for people with the most significant challenges in their lives throughout the state of Pennsylvania. One of the most distinctive elements of our organization has been to serve those folks that have really complex needs. So complex that they were unable to get services anywhere besides institutions. And part of our initial mission and part of what we continue to strive for is to show that all people, regardless of how complex their needs are, can successfully live in the community, as long as we put supports around them in a way that truly provides them the ability to do so. But I was firmly committed when I started this organization to the premise that if people can live in an institution, there must be something they do in the institution that we can replicate here in the community in order to make them successful. Little did I know that there was really nothing we were going to replicate from the community. We had to actually forge the path ourselves, cut through the underbrush, make the mistakes, backtrack and try again until we found ways to succeed in giving people the ability to succeed in seeking their own fulfilling lives. I hope we never forget that the people we serve are the most significant part of our origin, and that our customized approach to serving them is what's resulted in InVision's reputation for success without resorting to restrictive procedures and restraints. So during that time, we've lived through, well, maybe survived might be a better word, 6 governors and even more heads of the Office of Developmental Programs, the ODP chiefs. We've survived the rate cuts of 2010 and 2011, 10%, that came in June at the end of the fiscal year, and had to figure out how we were going to deal with 11 and a half months worth of expenses that had been cut by 10%. Those rate cuts decimated a lot of other organizations. Recently, we've survived 3 attempts by our current federal administration to further decimate the lives of people with disabilities funded through Medicaid programs. And in case you don't know, virtually all of our programs are funded through Medicaid. Thanks to the efforts of many of you and many, many other people around the country, we have and will continue to fight for the people we support and fight for the Medicaid programs that are the only source of services for people with these kinds of significant disabilities. So back to the milestones. We received our first grant in 1994, and by fiscal year 2016, we saw our donations and grants top the $1 million mark. During 2013, we crossed the threshold of serving 100 people concurrently in the residential program, and at the end of 2016, we established our 4th business entity by officially incorporating InVision Integrated Behavioral Health. Because the stops on this journey are really significant, we've created a milestone document that is on each of your chairs or in your laps as we're speaking, showing you those milestones along the way, because there are way too many for me to go through for you. Those milestones that we crossed, though, didn't just fall into our path. They weren't just accidents. They were reached through the passion, professionalism, plain old persistence, and of course, patience. Although I have to say sometimes patience is the one I have the hardest time with. And I'm sure that that's the case for many of you as well, because patience is really required in so many different ways as we go through our workloads. These are the qualities that bring each of you to InVision, and they're hopefully the qualities that you appreciate in one another. They are truly impressive traits. So thank you again for joining me here today and joining the rest of the executive team. We have a lot to be proud of as we look over the milestones of the last 24 years, and I actually had a lot of fun trying to look through and figure out what some of those milestones were, because they're pretty monumental. So now let's talk money. That's the cue for Pat Mezek, our Chief Financial Officer.
Thanks, Ruth. I was sitting here while Ruth was talking. I was trying to figure out where I was in 1993, and I still can't figure it out. Probably my 12th job. I don't know. But it's exciting. And the other thing I was thinking about, I've been here 5 years. I can't believe it's been 5 years now. It's been wonderful, fun, exciting 5 years. What do we have up there? Milestones, financial milestones. I love talking about finance. I usually talk too fast and lose everybody in the first couple sentences, but I will try to slow down. That first year, to put everything in perspective, that first year our revenue was $14,000. Our 2018 budget is, I think, $46 million. So we've grown substantially over 25 years, $46 million. Supported one person, as Ruth said, had expenses of $49,000, so we lost money in that first year, even though it was really only 2 months of a fiscal year. And then for the next 23 out of 25 years, InVision has operated in the black. So very successfully operated from a financial standpoint in a difficult industry. From 2002 to 2007, we kind of took a breath, if you want to call a 23% increase in revenue a breath. And the revenue went to $9.2 million. Not much of a breath. In the next 5 years, revenue doubled. So in 2012, our revenue was $20 million. And our donations had increased to $75,000. For fiscal year 2016, our program-related revenue was $39 million, which means we doubled our revenue again in 4 years. Donations and grants increased to $600,000 annually for the last 2 years. We purchased, as Ruth said, we purchased our eastern office building in Reading. A key financial milestone in this time frame is that we were successful in settling individual rate appeals with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for a total of over $3 million. Fought the City of Philadelphia and gained another $300,000. And our participation in the PAR settlement, which is our state organization, is worth about $300,000 annually. So those are significant financial milestones for InVision. We moved to this building from the Forbes Avenue building, and with the help of Senator Vukovich, we were able to get a $500,000 grant for the initial, whatever you call it. Right, which paid about half of it. It paid for about half of our construction to get into this building. So, the financial milestones that we reached in 2016 are pretty significant. We bought this building, which is amazing. Senator Vukovich helped us again with another $400,000 grant to build out this second floor. We purchased 3 more homes in the ICS residential program, which brings us to a total of 12 homes that we own. And even though our revenue increased about $20 million, our accounts receivable, money we collect, just increased about $200,000. So we're successful in billing and collecting those additional revenues that we are achieving. We talked about our line of credit, which is our which is our crutch in case we need money. That balance is 0. So we have not used that line of credit in 2016. Our net assets now are $6 million. And donations for our South Africa partnership are now about $12,000 annually from employees alone. And just recently we hired Michael Wassel. I hope you've all had the pleasure to meet Michael. Michael started in June as our Director of Finance. And this enables us for the Finance Department to meet the needs of this organization as it grows substantially. InVision's financial journey is a good one, and we'll continue to be diligent. We want to provide support for our subsidiaries so they can fulfill their missions with confidence and strength. And now I'm happy to turn over the mic to Kim Lowe, our Chief Operating Officer.
Old. Wow, 20 years, you look old. It's not very nice. Thanks, Pat.
No problem.
Thanks everyone for taking the time to be here, especially those folks who traveled in from the east. I heard all about your journey, what stays in the car, what happens in the car stays in the car, not happen anymore. But, so behind all the dates, the numbers and names of the names are the lives of hundreds of InVision employees, all the people that we serve in InVision customized services and InVision integrated behavioral health, and those who support the foundation. And the existence of this company has truly made a difference in the lives of thousands of people over the years. While we understandably focus a great deal on ICS, we can't forget that we continue to evolve as a company of 4 distinct organizations. At the helm of these companies is our leader, Ruth, our outspoken, controversial, troublemaking, fearless leader. And it's important to recognize that her visibility and recognition in front of lawmakers and industry leaders has contributed to InVision reaching milestone after milestone over this past quarter century. Theo articulates very well why InVision is considered a leader in our field and does such a great job. I think I'll just let the video speak for itself.
Well, from the very beginning when I started here, what impressed me the most was the relationship between the staff and the people we support. And I think it's who we support and how we support the people that make InVision different. The people we support are folks that have had major life challenges that other providers wouldn't even think about providing services to. And our staff are people that truly listen to what's important to the people we support and their families. And our living environment allows us to make sure the home is truly that person's home, and the one-on-one attention the staff devotes to the folks we support allows our staff to really then achieve person-driven outcomes for the folks that we support.
A short time ago, Ruth mentioned about Johnny Lawson. I think a lot of you know her. So we hired her in 1994, and in a moment you'll hear her speak to the pride she takes in her work and in this company. We're so very fortunate to have had staff like Johnny and countless others who give their hearts and souls to make a difference in the lives of those we serve.
First of all, in order to do this job, I don't care who you are. I was intimidated at first, but one thing, I had compassion in my heart for people. I was brought up, no matter who you are a person. So that wasn't hard for me. But when you see that you're helping somebody and see the expression on their face and they smile, that's it in a nutshell. That's so rewarding, you know. That really makes you feel like you're doing your job. I'm a firm believer people make the world go round. No matter who you are someone, you know, and everybody has something to offer. That's it.
Regardless of what company you're employed by or who you officially work for, what department, everyone in this room has a job that supports somebody in one of our subsidiaries. What you do has an impact on them and their lives, and hopefully they have an impact on you as well.
Well, the difference is Shared Visions is helping me do my helping skills. These events are nice to get out of the house and interact with people. InVision is really easy and not hard on me anymore. Like, I did bad things in the past, but that's over and done with. I'm happy.
So we often get asked, why do you support people who are so challenging, so dangerous, so aggressive, so whatever, fill in the blank. I've thought it, you've probably thought it. There are times where I'm like, wow, is this just too much? But then I remember the answer. We do it for Heather, and we do it for John, and we do it for Terry and Tara and Sharon. We do this so that they can have 25 years with people who will support them to realize their life visions and who will stick by them during the extraordinarily tough times. We do this to give people the opportunity to look back on 25 years of their life and say, hey, you know what? There might have been some rough times, but all in all, not so bad. And with that, let's turn it over to Ruth.
You know, one of the most, one of the things you may have the most questions about is, why do we throw in all that financial stuff? That's not very fun. It's not all that interesting to many of you out there. Pat and I kind of like it, but many of you might wonder, why do we think it's important enough to talk about? It's important enough to talk about because these first 25 years, the next 25 years, and all the years beyond are dependent on financial solvency. If the organization can't maintain its financial health, we can't make that Life for Heather happen for Heather or for anybody else that we support. And the commitment we make to them is what is most critical. As you can see, Heather's now lived with us for 25 years, but she's still a young person. She has a lot more years to go. And if we don't take care of the organization, then we don't have that continuing home for Heather and for Gary and for all those other folks that you all know. So, thank you, Pat, for your attention to our finances, for being here. What Pat only promised to be 2 years in the beginning and has now been 5. Thank you to Kim for taking on making our programs and the things I conceived of actually real programs that function and have become something that we can be so proud of. Now we get to celebrate the awards for those of you that make it happen out there on the fields of life every single day. You may have questions that you want to ask. We'll give you a little bit of time for some questions, but I think at this point we're going to jump right into our awards for the Leadership Awards, recipients and nominees for this year. This year, the executive team received 38 nominations from across the state, both east and west. About a week ago, 4 recipients were chosen, and you've probably seen they were announced by email and through social media, various points through the last week. Today, we get to recognize those recipients again, and the folks from the east aren't all here. Maybe some of those from the west aren't here. I'm not quite sure yet, but I am really, really pleased to not only announce and celebrate those folks who were recipients of the awards, but especially to celebrate all those who were nominated. Because out of 800 employees, when you're nominated for one of these awards, you've already been a big winner in my book. To be chosen by your own friends and colleagues, to have had recommendations from people who work with you on a daily basis, that means that they understand not only how important their job is, but how important it is that you all have done such a fantastic job and become role models for all of them. So we want to start with the Carolyn Hoffman, Dr. Carolyn Hoffman Leadership Award. Dr. Hoffman was a board president for InVision for about 10 years. She was a leader in her field in rehabilitation for many years and taught at one of the universities. She gave a lot to the organization, and in her name, we created the Leadership Award, which was won this year in the East by Dryden Hanyangarara. I worked on that. Dryden is described as a superb DSP, direct support professional. His level of connection with Wesley, as well as his willingness to assist others, is an inspiration. Dryden encourages Wesley to speak up and encourages others to listen, to ensure that Wesley's needs and wants are respected and honored. He demonstrates patience, support, encouragement, and empowerment every day in his work. So congratulations to Dryden. Couldn't be with us today. It's a long way from you. But well done. In the West, it is my honor to congratulate Clarissa Burrows. Recipient of the Dr. Carolyn Hoffman Leadership Award this year. Clarissa is a training coordinator who's been with InVision since 2013, and if you're not on Facebook, Clarissa might be a reason to get on it. Clarissa posts, her posts are absolutely stupendous. Even I get excited when Clarissa posts about a training session on a weekend, or how excited she is about the enthusiasm that the folks in her training course exhibited. She's a dynamo and just a great representative of InVision. So Clarissa, come up.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is your certificate. I could give it to you right side up. And this is the letter of nomination, which is a lot longer than what I'm reading. And will probably bring a lot of tears to your eyes. So
No more crying.
stay here and cry for a second.
There's so many more people now.
So here's a snapshot of what they said about Clarissa.
Okay.
Clarissa truly understands our mission and vision as she naturally implements positive approaches in her interactions with the people we support and those she works with on a daily basis. She promotes positive approaches by encouraging open discussion in her trainings. Clarissa implements a can-do approach and never turns down an opportunity to think innovatively, as she is eager to learn and takes accountability for her actions.
Thank you.
Next is the John Fabb Rookie of the Year Award. John is the person I told you who has a significant disability and has served on one or another of our boards ever since 1993. In the East, the John Fabb Rookie of the Year Award goes to Ahmed Adeyega. How'd I do?
Great.
And I first that one too, because I wanted to say it a very different way. Ahmed is a residential counselor who's been with InVision since January this year. Early in his tenure with InVision, Ahmed has already gone above and beyond to be a role model for peers and the people we support by identifying problems and offering solutions, and by showing a willingness to learn. And that's a big thing in InVision. He's already demonstrated that he's committed to his work and to InVision. Ahmed has volunteered to train new staff and always displays positivity while doing his work. Hey, Ahmed. And the John Fabb Rookie of the Year recipient here in the West, where'd she go? Tasha, is Tasha Coe. I had the pleasure of meeting Tasha for the first time very briefly before this. Tasha is a team leader who's been with InVision since August of 2016. She is described as dedicated, persistent, and tenacious. She works collaboratively with her team. That kind of sounds like somebody else I know around here. A lot of people, actually. She works collaboratively with her team to maintain open communications, to ensure a consistent, safe environment. She's always willing to learn, and she's diligent in developing skills that aren't easily learned, growing through her experiences and eagerly accepting feedback. Now you, yes, And now I'm going to invite Kim to return to the podium and recognize the remaining award recipients. And note that they gave me all the hard names and not any of them.
I averaged $20 for that, but unfortunately, I don't think either of our Ruthies and Creed Shaping Our Futures awards are present with us, but I would certainly like to acknowledge Beth Engelman, who is our Eastern Region recipient. She has been with InVision since 2012 and has worked as a team leader. It's evident that Beth not only understands but promotes our core values and is the picture of believing all human beings should be treated with dignity and respect at all times. Her willingness to effectively work with her team members has been paramount to assuring health and safety. Beth's collaborative actions, person-directed thinking, and persistence have been critical factors helping people achieve a high level of consistency and stability. So congratulations to Beth. And our recipient in the Western region is Liz Mink, who has been a residential counselor in the residential program for over 5 years. Liz is committed to the people she supports. She has demonstrated a firm yet caring demeanor, always putting the needs and safety of Annie first. She also inherently knows when to provide additional support and when people just need a little space. Liz always approaches her work with the same high level of care, dedication, and quality. So congratulations to Liz. Mr. Birkenstock, did you see how Carissa responded to her award?
Uh-huh.
Can you match that?
You know how dangerous the question that is.
She doesn't, I do.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So this year's Pursuit of Excellence Award recipient for the Eastern Region is our buddy here, Jack Birkenstock. Jack's a clinical consultant who has been with InVision for over 7 years. Jack's innate commitment to promoting self-directed values, maintaining a culture of open and honest communication and teamwork has had an immensely positive effect in many areas of our work.
Oh, go on.
He uses very big words.
Like, go on.
He enthusiastically and respectfully challenges the norms and helps some others to consider ideas that may be different from their own, which has assisted our teams in being more mindful of our work with the people that they support, one another, and with those outside of InVision. All right, Rosie, it's your turn.
Thanks, Jack.
Close the show, Lindsay.
And this year's Pursuit of Excellence Award recipient in the West is Lindsay Gorski. Lindsay, did you have a camera? It's the only thing I did not do. You didn't. Okay. So Lindsay really did everything except for but for the last 2 years, she's worked as a clinical specialist here. She consistently seeks to expand her professional abilities. Her focus is maximizing the capabilities of the company so that those we serve have the knowledge and support conducive for success. Additionally, Lindsay has been a tremendous supporter of the new organizational structure within our residential program, acting as a role model and positive influence to others. She manages the many priorities of her position, making time to assist her peers along the way. Her passion and her knowledge inspire others around her to grow, develop, learn, and be the best that they can be. In your packet, there is not only the anniversary milestones handout, but it also contains a list of our years of service recipients. And today will mark the day that we begin to celebrate those. So keep an eye out for emails and posts on social media. And before we break, we have a small gift for one person in attendance today for thanking you for being here. So take a look behind your chairs, and if you see a postcard, you are our lucky winner.
Oh, perfect.
Our lucky winner is Courtney. And Courtney, we need you to pick a number between 1 and
29.
21.
21.
Hold on, this is another special surprise. For Ali Cargo from the Eastern Region. So he will also be receiving a gift as long as one of his co-workers is willing to take it back to him.
So as we wrap this up, our State of the Vision and award ceremonies, I wanted to acknowledge a few people today. First set of people I want to acknowledge are the folks who are not in this room but are out doing the licensing chore that kind of cropped up in between when this was scheduled and today. And so they are out going through, slogging through paperwork, you know, from here to the top of the 3rd floor. And that's a job none of us envies. Having been through it many times, all of us in one way, shape, or form, we know that they would much rather be in here. Also, I want to to let you know that the entire executive team works together to drive this journey we're all on. That team includes everybody you heard from today, Pat, Kim, and me, and people behind the scenes like Rachel, our Manager of Executive Administration, with whom I could not live without, frankly. Without whom I could not live. That's the right way to say that. However you want to say it, I really mean it, and I think she knows it, but so does the rest of the world. I have people from Harrisburg, from Scranton, from Erie who say to me, "That Rachel, she is really good." and believe it's true. I also want to thank Lori Bodner, our, just looking over here, Lori Bodner, our Chief Information Officer, Margie Foster, our Director of Center for Advancement and Partnerships, Joe Witucky, Chief Administrative Officer, all of the members of the executive team you didn't hear from today. You did hear from Rachel, you just didn't know it because behind the scenes she coordinated everything we've done. But not without the participation of the rest of the executive team. I know Kim mentioned our DSPs, our direct support professionals, but I can't stress enough how important those folks are, those of you who are direct support professionals who are here today, and those who have been DSPs in your past, and those of you, the rest of you, who support them in one way, shape, or form. But those DSPs are really the heart and soul of our organization. Without them, we couldn't do this work, and it is, and they are, people I have the greatest respect and admiration for every single day. Also, I want to thank and acknowledge the people that we saw in the videos today. Theo, Johnny, and Heather. They all gave graciously of their time and shared openly for the purpose of those videos. And especially in Heather's case, as you heard her story, you can imagine how difficult it must be to share those intimate aspects of your life. The important thing to know is we serve 450 people, and they have 450 stories, of which Heather's is only one. And most of them have a story that's equally disturbing. It is incumbent on all of us, especially those of us who do not work directly with folks, who are not DSPs, to remember that every person we support has a history that sounds an awful lot like the one you just heard about. And my respect for them is extremely high because they have survived things that the rest of us generally cannot dream of and would never want to dream of. But sharing their lives with us is a gift to all of us. Last, I want to thank Andy Eisenbarth. He's our communication specialist. Where'd he go? Help behind the camera. He put together all the documents, the videos, the graphs, everything else. He's doing the videotaping. He's carried boxes and bags of drinks in and out of the vehicles. He just came off the Fall Festival. He's been doing a great job, and I celebrate his time with us and hope he's around for a long time. Thank you to all of you, every single person in the room and who couldn't be with us today. I give you a round of applause. Finally, every day we know we're changing the lives of human beings, people. That's the real journey. And the best milestones are the ones that involve each person we support reaching a new milestone toward their own vision of a meaningful life. As we look back 25 years and we look forward from 2017 and beyond, I can honestly say that I'm more confident than ever before that InVision itself is poised to do exactly what our vision statement says: to become a preeminent human services organization in Pennsylvania by consistently delivering innovation, leadership, and advocacy. And I am proud that all of you are part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.